So this was not meant to be a briefing. This is meant to be an open discussion, brainstorming session, okay? So this is my small slide deck for private orgs. And in reality, what we're looking for from every private org is a little bit of participation in a wing-wide initiative, okay? So that initiative is called Ignite the Fuel. Basically, as you may well know, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force has come out with this vision some years ago, the world's greatest Air Force, powered by airmen, fueled by innovation. So the catchphrase, Ignite the Fuel, is just to spark the innovation at the airman level so that we're all participating in bringing innovative ideas up to leadership for decision approval. Now, thankfully, wing leadership has been very receptive to some of the latest suggestions. In fact, at the wing staff meeting, XP has the lead for gathering all of the lessons learned and best practices. Come on in, Chief. Thank you for coming. So one of the things that XP has been doing is gathering all of the best practices from multiple organizations across the entire base. Okay. Now, some of these best practices are going to be held within house, and they're just going to be improving our processes. Others are best practices that people have brought in from other organizations outside the base, and they may be spread wing-wide or even MAGCOM-wide. The intent is to change the culture. Okay. So the idea that the leadership had is that if we approach this in the same way that we once did through C3, we once did through other initiatives, that we have airman to airman, peer-to-peer motivation, then innovation will continually be a part of our culture, as opposed to other initiatives that sort of had like a deadline. Okay? We're not looking for a product. We're not looking for a certain time frame. What we're looking for is a change in perspective. Okay? That perspective is a focus on accuracy versus compliance. So right now we're moving into a big area toward the, what's the new acronym for it?
UEI.
UEI. Okay, so at the wing staff level, IG has the lead for making sure that we're successful in the UEI. What wing leadership has emphasized is that, yes, they want us to do our job, but they recognize that there's a difference between what we're required to do and what we are capable of doing. Okay? So what we're asking private orgs to help us with is to spread the word to our membership that wherever there's a gap between capacity and requirement, you bring those issues to leadership and allow them to mitigate those risks. Now, what we like to do and help all private organizations do is present this kind of a message to the airmen. And what I'd like to do is show you one case scenario called Tech Sergeant Layman's Experience. And we did a little research project at Squadron Officer School that talked about this tech sergeant. And he is, in my opinion, one of the ideal airmen of the Air Force. Because in spite of many different challenges, he overcame them, and his solution became common practice. Okay? So this funky little tool that you see out here, Ratchet, was something that he had decided. And in his career field, space and missiles, you can understand that making any changes whatsoever has a very long and tedious process. But this little ratchet that he created would save the Air Force over 1 year period of time millions and millions of dollars. Because this little ratchet would enable airmen to do their basic maintenance on a certain part of that program a whole lot faster than what their current practices were. So through his innovative idea, his change in one system, it had an impact on a program. The challenge for Tech Sergeant Layman was getting that approval. Okay? As we've all known, because we've all been in a situation where something was recognized at the lowest level but never codified in a regulation or an AFI or signed off by any senior leaders, sometimes those best practices stay at the lowest level and they never get filtered up. They never get adopted. Okay? He was a perfect example of an airman who, in spite of all of those challenges, eventually overcame them. And 3.5 years later, after his idea was vetted through all the proper chains and channel, his idea actually became common practice, and it changed the entire MAGCOM. And so that tool set actually saved the Air Force millions of dollars every year since. The unfortunate story is that it took that long for that process to change. It took that long for that tool set to actually be implemented. Okay? So that's lost time. That's lost value. And unfortunately, I think even in our wing, there's lots of great airmen that do awesome things on a regular basis, and they don't get recognized for it because nobody knows about it. So what our wing leadership wants to do is capture those best practices, capture those great ideas, and recognize those individuals, but also share those best practices. So at the wing level, there's three main focuses. The first, processes. The second, people. And the third is technology. Every group commander, squadron commander is going to get this slide, basically, and they're supposed to be filling in the gap here for their specific unit's focus areas. So some of us may be from med group, some of us may be from a training group. Our specific commanders are going to have completely different priorities when it comes to best practices and sharing good ideas. So although your med group ideas may be very applicable within your group, the impacts are going to be negligible on our side of the house, and vice versa. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not valuable and they shouldn't be brought up for leadership's recognition and also implementation. The last part here recognizes that there is a change in culture that's required when we talk about the UEI. Okay? We want to drive toward accuracy versus compliance. Okay? What that means is in MGT, leadership wants us to be accurate. Recognize that there is a difference between what is required and what we're actually doing, and annotate those. There's a current regulation, the 90-201, that actually has a blurb in there saying that for anything that we are not compliant in, we can add comments and do a root cause analysis on what's going on, what's wrong, what can be fixed. And in most cases, our airmen already have some sort of fix. They have some sort of idea. They have some sort of better practice of getting the job done more effectively, more efficient. But it may not be outlined in some sort of regulation. What leadership is asking is that using this regulation, we go through the steps to codify and document and record whatever their best practice is. And that we bring those to IG, we bring those to the inspectors so that they can recognize that there's a better way than the way that has been outlined perhaps in a regulation. Okay?
So,
yes.
I don't want to sit here and be confused the entire briefing, but I'm concerned. Well, what does this have to do with private org?
Great question.
All right, there we go.
Yep, and when Chief Master Sergeant Phillips arrives, he's going to help you kind of bring it all together. You guys are one of our key demographics, okay? So you guys are not organizationally hierarchy, okay? You're not part of the bureaucracy, is what I'm saying. You guys have impact cross-organizationally. You have members that come from all different walks of life, okay? So there's a different way that the audience reacts when they receive this kind of information from a commander. There's a different way that they react when they receive this kind of stuff from a peer. The reason we're coming to you as leaders within your private organizations is because if we can convey the same exact message that the commanders are saying, but through the private organizations, we're going to have a much better success rate in accepting initiatives, bringing solutions to the commanders. And what Chief Master Sergeant Phillips has done is he's going to bring in some experience from USAFE. In Europe Command, prior to General Welsh arriving as the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, they successfully utilized private orgs to organize what are called small focus groups. So private orgs would advocate throughout their organization. In your regular periodic meetings, whether it be quarterly, annually, monthly, etc., you would just send the opportunities out to your memberships that, hey, this commander, we'll say the group commander and medical group, wants a focus group to help solve such and such problem. Any volunteers that want to be part of that focus group, please contact this person in med group. Okay? So you are a conduit for that information. Completely different than a formal tasking, a formal additional duty, a formal program that would come through the hierarchy of the chain of command. You see the approach? So you guys are a different conduit that has a lot more, I would say, pull from the peer-to-peer perspective than supervisor or leader to subordinate perspective.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
To kind of piggyback on that. Because private org fall under Chief Thomas, did you guys clear this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact,
I just want to make sure, because
Right.
a lot of times people try to use private orgs, but we're kind of limited on what we can do
exactly.
on the Air Force side of the house versus our private org role.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And originally the intent with Chief Master Sergeant Phillips' visit today was that it was going to be Chief Thomas and Chief Phillips meeting together. Unfortunately, Chief Thomas tomorrow is not going to be available, and that was when the original meeting time frame was. So, taking advantage of the fact that Chief Phillips is here, we organized today's meeting as kind of a roundtable session. So absolutely, before you do anything, and before you ever send anything to anybody in your membership, you absolutely want to verify that Chief Thomas is on board with it. Because you're right, this should not be an excuse to utilize your private org for anything other than what your original charter and intent was for. But as far as leadership is concerned, they do recognize that you have a greater pull in the grapevine than perhaps they do through their leadership power. And that was the original intent. It's basically advocating, letting the airmen know from the airmen's perspective that there are ways to bring about changes, and now is the time, because the commanders are listening. In fact, they're wanting those changes. Just as we were talking before you came in, Mr. Fry was discussing the fact that the brand new commander at the 336th, Major Young, has already brought some of those things to the wing staff meeting, and hopefully been successful in implementing some of those.
Yeah, every staff in the last couple of weeks, we have set the chart. We're going through every different organization from CPTS down to AMDS, ID anyway, and we collect these different initiatives, non-value added, how can we do things better, processes, and we really, staff meetings we barely go over what we used to go over, and we go over like, EPRs and certain things, and all of a sudden we're spending a half hour discussing how can we do this process, and every commander was given homework directed by the general. You will have a homework assignment on a project or a topic, and every staff meeting we go through the list, hey, you're up next, and that's how seriously he's taking it. And just to piggyback, when Captain Wright just came back from SOS with discussing about innovation, the big three met on that, and so we've had Chief Thomas on these discussions immediately. So he's been on board, and he's had a lot of good ideas, and his big perspective was, if I'm not mistaken, was this is extremely good idea, but we also want to make sure it's not highly bureaucratic where it pulls people's time away, from their day-to-day. It's important, but also remember the day-to-day as well. He was really putting on that. That's what I remember that first meeting, right? Was how are we going to do this without, we already have, limited people doing the same mission with less people. This is important, but let's make sure we do it smart as well. So that was some of his first inputs on that. So he had some great feedback for that first meeting. I can't remember when it was, April or May. So
it was a while back. What we wanted to avoid, and I hope this reassures everybody, is this is not going to be a tasking system. This is not going to be something where every organization is mandated to give up certain numbers of bodies or time in your meetings or anything. Okay? This is completely, totally voluntary. But understand, and the chart that I'm showing now is, this is how commanders are graded now. And one of the big 4 areas is how they improve a unit. And over on the left-hand side, you'll see that the UEI, the inspection program, is in the same section as process improvement. So commanders, quite literally, we all understand, are incapable of doing the thousands of things that it says in the regulations commanders should or would, must do, right? They totally depend on the people within the organization to be able to accomplish that mission. So the only way they're going to be able to meet one of their major graded criteria is if the people that are doing the mission are the ones that bring the changes about. At the wing staff meeting, we've had several successful changes. One that General Higbee likes to highlight right off the top, and this is a culture change, is he has done away with signing individual appointment letters wing-wide. He has one universal wing appointment letter. And wing-wide, there's a list. It's a SharePoint list, if I'm not mistaken. And that thing gets updated consistently. Every time there's a new assignment given to somebody, as an additional duty, or whoever's responsible for a certain program. Do you remember how difficult it was to send up one appointment letter all the way up to the wing commander for it to be signed off? They'd have to go through every single flight, squadron, group commander, and then all of their admin staff in order to get that final signature from General Hayden. He did away with that entire process. And he says, I'm signing one universal appointment letter that refers to this list. And whoever's on this list is responsible for the duties and responsibilities that they're assigned. Now, the challenges with doing things like that, because there's a lot of risk in just having one appointment letter. He's accepted that risk. He's accepted the risk that the individuals on that list know what their responsibilities are, that they're trained to do whatever they're expected to do, and that they'll be ready for the UEI and these self-inspection checklists. But he's willing to take that risk in order to save all of us the time and effort and suffering and pain going through that process of just getting a document signed. Because in the end, that signed document doesn't necessarily guarantee that the individual is trained, capable, or knowledgeable of what they're supposed to do, right? It's just a piece of paper. Now, time and time again, he's had one staff meeting after another where literally dozens or several different kinds of decisions have come up to the wing level, some of which he can make decisions on, some of which he cannot. But they recognize that at his level, and they decide as a wing staff whether or not they're going to go forward with it and champion it or not. The reason I bring that to you all is because perhaps the private orgs were completely oblivious to the fact that that's even going on. Perhaps private orgs and even your membership doesn't even know that leadership has shifted their focus. Okay? Yes, we still want to accomplish the mission, but they all recognize that there's a better way to do that. And that's what they're looking to private orgs to help spread the word on. Is that they're now willing and able to take up those innovations. Now, resources for you, because we're not expecting private orgs to go out there and champion ideas by yourself. That's not what you're charged. You should send anybody that has great ideas, obviously, back to their supervisory chain of command. But if somebody comes through your private org and says, look, I tried to go through my chain of command and they're ignoring me. They've got a tech sergeant layman type experience where they're just getting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. There are other avenues to get that idea vetted and recognized. Okay? One is through the XP office. Two is through the APSO 21 representative that we have here at Keystone Air Force Base. Mr. Griego. Vernon Griego. Three, there's a program Air Force-wide that allows any airman to input any submission. Here's what we can't guarantee by taking any of the other avenues. We don't know what the feedback loop will be. I have no idea if you submit something on the web page, how long it's going to take and who is ever going to answer you back. This is straight through the Air Force portal. Just literally anybody can go to the portal and just submit an idea, but it doesn't. It's really easy to submit, but they're still working out the kinks as far as I think how it's going to come back. I've spoken to Chief. We're talking about that. Right, and Chief Phillips is from that organization. He's from the Business Transformation Office at Headquarters Air Force that manages the entire Airmen Empowered by Innovation program. So let me show you what that webpage looks like in case anybody goes out there. I put the link here at the bottom of the notes pages. Let me add a pod. Share my screen here.
While you're looking for that, do you all recall one of our other meetings where we talked about the process of when you want to do a fundraising event, you have to physically take the paper, print stuff out, and walk it over to, if anyone remember that conversation going on? How come we can't use electronic staff summary packages to route stuff up?
Okay, whatever you'd like to talk about. Anybody even have a clue while we're here?
We're trying to get this, sir.
Some of us still confused.
Yeah, it's it's a combination of things. The reason I got requested to come speak was I got an email from the captain, but where to begin? When I was in Europe, there was I was at the NCO Academy as Director of Education for the NCO Academy. And I was also president of the KMC Top 3. And there was a lot of different top private orgs around the base doing a lot of different things. And I mean, CGO, you know, multiple top 3s, 5, 6, all these different organizations. And so what we decided to do was try to put a council together from all of those private orgs that could look at saving time for our private orgs in relationship to any type of extenuating enlisted development type stuff, or just development, not just enlisted development, officer development as well, and civilian development as well. And because everybody was teaching a lot of different things in their own top 3s, and there was a lot of disparate, you know, no organization to what they were doing, we thought if we had a council that fell underneath, normally, in that base, we had underneath the host base wing command chief. And that individual was kind of the executive chair for the committee, although they didn't do very much other than just kind of hear reports and things that were coming out of what was going on and kind of monitoring and making sure things. We had a career assistance advisor, which is vitally important because the career assistance advisor already has the curriculum that's supposed to be delivered, you know, across the command. But everybody was still kind of teaching a lot of other type of things, you know, don't necessarily fall underneath that to help with other people. So we put this council together so that we could take all those different type of courses and people running the different meetings for different top 3s, people going this top 3, going this up first, you know, 5, 6 meeting, and all the things, to try to bring some unity to all of those organizations, and then take the curriculums that they may be providing and then take them and line them up where maybe we can eliminate and have one core type of class where we would use the NCO Academy instructors or prior instructors or whoever had, you know, type things to develop a lesson plan, so to speak, for those particular courses and kind of make them a little bit more organized. Not saying that those old private orgs couldn't go back and teach what they wanted to teach in their own community if they wanted to, but we were trying to get them away from doing a whole bunch of other types of training and get this on an annual calendar where everybody knew across the whole entire base. And that didn't make any difference if you were Army, you were civilian, you were officer, whatever it was. We would begin to cater courses that would be suited for whatever type of needs that you had. So that's what the council, the Force Development Council, was kind of about, to have that representation and kind of bring that unification together and bring a little bit more organization to it with the intent of saving time. Now, primarily what we started out doing was offering some off-the-shelf type of courses, which many of you may have seen before, John Maxwell type stuff, leadership type things, team building, how to develop your leaders underneath you, various different types of things like that, which became hugely successful and was one of the main drivers for a lot of the bringing people to this organization, so to speak, want to try to be a part of it because they wanted to become facilitators for it, or they wanted to get into the classes for those. And of course, we offered the normal courses that a lot of people, you know, EPR writing and all those type of stuff that might happen for one tier developing the next tier below. So that's what the council was done. Now that has grown to about, I think last count was 10 or 12 different bases have actually stood up a council like this on their base so they can kind of get their top 3s and all the private orgs, you know, together underneath one roof. However, the curriculum that they provided, it was primarily the normal stuff that we always provide, and with some supplemental off-the-shelf stuff, which was mostly leadership development and maybe some human relations, conflict management, or whatever it is that came off the shelf. They would purchase a video series. They would have to have a whole lot of expertise to deliver it because the guy on the video would be doing the videos and teaching it for us. And those became really popular. When I came and left there and came up here, it continued to grow, and it's really kind of expanded to a lot of different bases. Probably about 20-some bases actually looking at starting this council across the Air Force who expressed interest. People with PTS, they go to a different base, and they take the model. We developed standard work for a lot of everything that was done, so that, you know, you had a sample of everything. We even did a facilitator course. So if you want to teach underneath this organization, or not organization, but this council, underneath the leadership of this council, you want to teach some of these classes, then we had a facilitator course that we kind of put together. It's a hybrid type thing, just kind of give them some, so we knew that they were teaching it the way that we wanted it to be taught, things of that nature. And they were representing, you know, this organ, you know, the private orgs that they were all part of, so they didn't give a bad name or anything. When I moved up to the new job where I'm at now, we had I've seen a real need. We do a great job of building leaders in the Air Force, but we do a pretty poor job of managing organizational performance. In other words, what I'm saying is we build great leaders and not always give them the tools to know how to be the best managers in the world. And we really hit leadership a lot, but there's a lot of now fiscal responsibility that we have to have and accountability for auditability. And of course, you have the programs of ASSA 21 and all that stuff who teach a lot of that type of stuff too. But we've had a difficult time getting ASSA 21 down to the DNA of every airman, so to speak. You know what I mean? The CPI, continuous process improvement type tools. Now with the major graded areas of the inspection system, now with Commander's Responsibilities 1-2 that has just come out saying that you will be managing your organizations in accordance with these type of continuous process improvement type methodologies. Our people aren't necessarily across the board, even though we have it in PME, even though we have it in our PDG now, it's still kind of cursory and very, you know, low level as far as being able to really know how to do it. So my thought process has been to add performance management type of courses to this particular piece, and that's where we're at right now. We're in the process. We actually have off-the-shelf solution for that too. We have videos. There's a website that we go to. You can actually download, or you can actually call up the videos and have a course, and they're usually about 10 to 20 minutes max, which is kind of nice because they're real small. You can do it in lunchtime type things, and not taking a whole day type thing. You can do them in a 2 or 3 hour if you want to do several of them together sequentially. So that's the direction we were kind of going in the vision, is adding this to this council. And the captain's boss, I guess it's a wing commander, I presume, talked to Mr. Booth, or was it you who talked to Mr. Booth?
I did.
You talked to Mr. Booth. And Mr. Booth is the SES on the staff where I work. And he is in charge of the Chief Management Office for the Air Force. And so I had brought this idea to him that we need to leverage a volunteerism. In other words, leverage our private orgs and not try to force feed ASSO 21 to people. But if people want to go to these courses and they want to take these to better themselves and learn certain things, then let them go. And if not, we're not going to call it ASSO 21, we're not going to call it anything else, because that's really not the point. The point is that our people develop the skills that they need, know how to do a systematic way of problem solving, do a systematic way of root cause analysis, problem statement development, understand how to fix problems within the units. With that, there's an article, and I'll shoot this article, I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but there was an article that came out on accelerating change in organizations by Cotter. And in that article is where he talked about you have your typical systems for how you get things done within an organization. But oftentimes they become bureaucratic, fat, bloated, and very difficult to get anything done, because they own a piece, but the value stream, so to speak, for what has to be done across, something happening across, goes through different organizations. So they can never come to any decisions or everything done, because you can't get anybody to buy off them, or you can't get them to come to the table. So he said what a lot of companies have done in studies, it started these, what they call moonshine shops, so to speak, which is basically a term that was from industry, where they would put together sanctioned bodies of groups of volunteers that want to fix problems, want to come up with solutions to the problems that the organization has, but they run into dead ends elsewhere. And so my thought process after reading that article was we already have that structure in place. It's our private orgs. And our private orgs oftentimes aren't leveraged to the capabilities of what they could be leveraged for coming up with solutions and really making an impact on the base. They're kind of relegated to doing your fundraisers and volunteering in the community and doing type of events and social things and promotions, things of that nature for the base. But they don't really get that opportunity to do something getting back to their job or going back to helping solve and resolve issues. That's where the idea came in with leveraging these type groups. Also, which has not been done in the Air Force yet, this would be the first base that would do that, is to have these groups also, if there's ideas or problems that come to the base and the leadership say, we want to get this fixed, but we're not really sure how we can do it, is pulling a collective group of people together to operate like those moonshine shops would be in some respect, to be brainstorming ideas and trying to come up with potential solutions and ideas to be able to fix some of those type of issues. And then working that in a volunteer type of way of just trying to come together and fix some of the issues that are going on. And then obviously submitting those COAs, of course, of action to leadership and saying, here's some things that we came up we thought might be out of the box thinking, innovative things. We've never, and I'm talking about innovative type stuff, innovative solutions, not the normal, okay, we've got a problem, my leadership's going to fix that problem, we're going to fix it type thing. We're talking about what type of innovative things can this group come up with, and maybe it's not a problem that's already been generated, but the group comes up with some ideas on things they would like to see. We can make the base better, make this particular issue that we run into, but nobody seems to own it type thing. So it's a big organization, I mean, it's a big scope of things that the Total Force Development Council does. But when I was coming down here to do some other work with the Manpower Career Field, the subject matter experts for this are going to be the Manpower as far as process improvement and performance management and stuff like that. I'm coming down to work with them this week on helping getting this into their tech school as far as continuous process improvement into their tech school. And so while I was down here, I just happened to be on the base. I just happened to get this phone call, and then all the stars kind of came together and said, well, hey, let's meet with the command chief when you're down here. And he wasn't, or she wasn't, I can't remember if it was man or female, was not able to meet tomorrow. So he said, well, let's get the private orgs together, at least have a conversation so you can at least kind of introduce and they can ask you the hard questions, because I've got a bunch of slides, I got a bunch of other stuff you sent me, but I can't explain it, type thing. So that's the kind of big overview gist of what it is. I asked one of the black belts that's here on base to come today because with her expertise would be able to be one of the key facilitators when we start the performance management piece. If there's questions, what she can help with training facilitators and ask hard questions and get those people up to speed quicker. So I want to make sure she was here as well. So I know that was kind of a shotgun, and there's probably still really don't even know what to ask at this point in stage, but that's pretty much the gist of it. So open to you guys for questions. And
So, I'm still confused. Well, I'm really confused now. So, so we have a career assistant advisor,
Right.
and I think that would be the great focal point for all of this.
right, they're on the council.
Just go, start doing the briefings, educate, and then we can kind of do that. But I just don't know what, I mean, I kind of got it, and I think we're all a little bit lost on why private orgs are here, other than, hey, we can communicate that out. Yes, there's this, innovative, and I get that, but I'm a little lost.
The private orgs teach classes. Most private orgs do professional development classes, not in a CAA budget,
Okay,
not in their budget.
Okay.
I think I'm getting in there.
Okay.
Because not all teach classes. For instance, the African American Heritage Committee.
No,
I put on a couple of
Right.
brief events and
Right.
everything, but I don't
right,
reach out like the Durham Airmen's Council.
right.
I think that might work great for them. But as I was sitting here listening to
Yeah.
you speaking, as I listened to Captain Wright, I was thinking,
How does
okay,
this apply to me?
how does this apply to, if most organizations, private orgs, are set up like me, how does that work?
Right.
And it doesn't.
No, this is mainly for your military type, your top 3 CGOs, some of your civilian type, they're not private orgs, but your civilians can be included in the training. If you have Army or Navy or whatever it is, you can include those type of folks if you want to do a cross flow for their private orgs. Mainly with the organizations that are like the traditional 5-6 CGO, first 4 type organizations. And it's targeted at trying to get them from doing their own professional development type stuff that they've always done in their own little old ways that supplemented whatever it was that career assistant advisors were doing, to try to make sure that that's not being done anymore. You know what I mean? That we're trying to, not necessarily not be done, but we're trying to get that stuff where we can kind of get some better control over those things that they're doing and organize them a little bit better.
And so why wouldn't that just be under the career assistant advisor?
Because the career assistant advisor would be on the council,
Mhm.
but the career assistant advisor does not manage those folks today, does she? I was a career assistant advisor. I didn't manage those folks.
Well, Chief, we now have an enlistment development plan,
Uh,
and so that pretty much dictates like what has to be done quarterly
for the CAA.
to meet, well, no, it's for all of us.
The private org.
So the private orders
Okay.
across the whole, so Chief Thomas, our command chief, has said, chiefs, you will mentor
Right,
the top 3 once per quarter.
right,
Top 3, you will mentor the 5, 6 once per quarter.
right.
And then CGOs collectively, the chiefs and top 3 will collectively mentor the CGO piece.
What do
So I-
they teach them? Is it the CAA curriculum, or do they still have their own stuff they deliver? Like the chief may have a course on human relations he wants to teach.
So the CAA does
Right.
the John C. Maxwell courses and the
Right.
different stuff. Because I guess they're dictated by AFI now. I don't know what his AFI, because was he invited today and just couldn't make it?
Who's that?
The CAA? Master and John?
I have, it's also
Okay.
through Osborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because if he's not here, I mean, I don't know what his AFI says, but I think he has a pretty good hold on holding EPR classes. So it's not like, I know Chief's group, but also works with the CAA and then does, EPR writing classes, but I don't know.
So I think I'm getting a little confused, because we want the innovative piece. We want
Right. This is why
We
he
want all
finally
of that.
kind of called me over
Okay.
because of that piece.
so we really want that just combined into private orgs, but you're talking about a different piece of combining.
Yeah, I was just,
Two different things.
yeah,
Combining private orgs
it's two
into
different
one.
things he called me in for, but I just want, what started the conversation with him is a lot of bases have gone to, instead of using the TFDC council type thing to make sure that those private orgs are not teaching stuff in their own private orgs on their own, they kind of have a little better organization. So when they use that structure to come together to put those plans together, they've got that in the structure. And they had a council that kind of came together to kind of help them to make sure that served on that council by all the private orgs to help organize and make sure the calendar was built for the year, so it wasn't all put on the CAA. Because the CAA has a lot of stuff on their plate as it is, and if there's extenuating courses that are outside of the CAA curriculum that they want to deliver, that's what we were talking about, stuff outside the CAA normal curriculum that they wanted to deliver, a supplement. Now, depending on what, this base house set up, that's a separate issue. And you don't have to do any of that stuff that I was talking about. I'm just introducing this as something that is happening across the Air Force. But the innovative side of things, problem solving, things of that nature, is definitely something that I know the wing commander is interested in. And then of course the performance management side, you guys aren't teaching any of that stuff now. None of that is being taught through what we're talking about offering. So that's something you could also add into, however, the listed development plan that you want to do for your particular base. And that is really nice, because it's just like the John Maxwell stuff. It's an easy off-the-shelf solution that can be brought in, which would supplement or help you guys get where you need to get. And that's why the XP or the A1 or whoever it is, the black belts could be a piece in that, helping kind of train up people or get them where they need to be in relationship to that stuff. So that's kind of the.
Yeah, I think where we just got lost was we started talking about the innovative stuff.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, why are private orgs here? And then you started talking about professional development briefings.
Right.
And so basically, yeah, we got just two separate things. I'm a big fan of AFSO 21, the process improvement. I love it. If that could be my only job, I would love to just do that. I just want you to know that. But so we just need to find somewhere to instill the AFSO 21 briefing.
Yep.
And not scare people off with words like root cause analysis. We'll talk about process improvement
Right.
briefings so that we can better develop our force.
Right. That piece, and then the other piece I would suggest you guys do is look at trying to put together some think tank type groups, which those two pieces. You get a performance management piece via the GIMBA Academy, which is, I'll get you guys the links to. You could add that piece to whatever it is that you're doing, and then help us to develop how we might do these think tanks. You know what I mean? If there's things that need to be done.
Well, yeah, I was just recently, I was thinking along the lines of what you were talking about, all of these briefings. It would be ideal to, even if the CAA doesn't manage it, he's got a calendar and he's got the whatever the reasoning and all of that to go and just go, okay, everybody, if you want this, because there's so much stuff that we can just kind of schedule through there and we can get our briefings in that way because it reaches everybody versus it's just one private org. And I think that's already kind of in place.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that's just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of what some of the things that are going on.
Yeah.
So.
The one thing I would say, the innovation tree, if you want to call it, of General Higbee has several branches. And one of the big branches I think would really work at your level is you don't want to scare them off with RCA, but use the words non-value added. I can guarantee that their airmen just came in here and seeing stuff saying, why do we do it this way? And sometimes it's legitimate, sometimes it's just bucking the system. But he is huge on non-value added. That's a lot of what the commander's homework is. So if you're going to, I know part of this getting, I think the private orgs together was also just, he wants consistent message throughout the wing, and I think we're still working on consistent message. But the point is that, because there's some confusion in this room today, so I mean, it's there, so let's call it maybe other captain. But anyway, the point is to reach out for ideas like that. When you say non-value added, that perks the ears up more than risk, RCA or even AFSO 21 so much, especially maybe to the younger. And hey, the Air Force, frankly, I'm 44, been in 22, 21 years. We can use fresh ideas. Maybe that fresh perspective of what is the value of this is probably best from the mouse of you coming in. So that's how I would sell it, definitely. That's our level as well. But I think when you say non-value added, people, oh, I got an opinion on that, or I have an idea, and some are good, and then we'll take them and we'll discuss them. We're doing it at the commander level. Some of the ideas we kind of go, okay, you can tell when they kind of push it off to the side. But non-value added is a big three-word phrase I would use. I know there's some people over this space probably could bring up one thing and say, yeah, I could see what is the value of this? How can we, especially in dwindling dollars and dwindling people, so. That's all I have to say about that.
Apologize for coming in and out. We're getting the classes back in session and up and running. Appreciate your patience. So, Chief, thank you for making the trip out here. Really what I wanted was the private orgs to hear from the source what the vision is from the top down. Because I know from the bottom up we're always guessing, but it's nice to hear it from you so that we know exactly what the intent is.
Well, the idea generation thing is it is kind of a pilot type of idea. It hasn't really been done on any basis, and you expressed an interest in possibly your command being very interested in trying to come up with solutions and stuff. So that's something that I'll be glad to help work with you guys on, and the performance as far as getting people and thinking and seeing value-added work versus non-value-added work. We have some really good videos that can be hand-selected as you guys go through. You can build your own, you can title it whatever you want to. When you get to the course, you can pull the course up, whatever it is, but whatever you think is sellable and easily translatable to folks. They have a 8-step methodology through there. You just go through and click the different videos, and it shows you how to go through a systematic way of problem solving. And it links very well with what we do in AFSO 21. It's a civilian company that's doing something similar, you know what I mean? So those type of things are out there, and there's courses that you can advertise and see what type of interest it has. Big interest, people say, well, I want to see what that's about, and they come see it. You know what I mean? You may even not even know there's an interest in it until you advertise it. But those are nice thing about it is they're free. And you can pull a group of people together. They can do it in their work centers. It's not even something they have to go. They can do it individually, so they don't have to necessarily pull a group of people to go do that. You know what I mean? But it's nice to do that because then you can have crosstalk. Somebody may not understand exactly what was going on and how that works, and then you've got somebody who's really good in math or whatever it is, and they can kind of see the analogy. Where another thing is about with words and how you write problems and how you capture that. And a good writer, so they can articulate it better. So those are the type of things we just want to bring and let you guys know are out there, where so you can apply and how you want to do it.
And those resources are at the portal site for the USM, or is it the SharePoint?
Right now, it is so new that it's not even on our SharePoint site yet.
Okay.
But it will be soon. So, but I can send you the link, and it's got a password and everything. And the person has to put that password that's in there into the thing. If it doesn't, then they're going to ask them to pay to get in that thing. So, but if the DoD and the Air Force have paid for it across the Air Force to be used. So they thought about hanging on ADLS. That was one of the things they were looking at doing with it, but they ran into all kinds of issues. So right now it's just an open website.
So we have permission, once we get that information, to spread that through our membership. And
Yes,
tag.
absolutely. Sorry to confuse you guys. I mean, it's kind of a I wasn't planning on talking to all of you guys as well, you know what I mean? So it's one of those type of things, just had an opportunity to pull everybody together and have a chat. So I want to give you the overview of everything.
Appreciate the sacrifice of your time. I know it's very valuable. Hopefully, having met one another, at least you get face to the name, and hopefully we can work on things in the future. But I will definitely be in contact with every one of you. My purpose is to help the wing commander spread his message, and so I would like to advocate in or through your private orgs to your memberships. And I know every single membership is a little unique. And so how you guys advocate or send messages to them is different than somebody else. So I want to make sure that through you and with your permission, we get the same intent from the commander on down. But I appreciate you guys' time and effort. If there's anything that we can do to help you out, please let me know as well. And I'll be one more resource in the toolkit. So thank you, Chief. I appreciate it, sir.